We experience it countless times a day, the gentle rise and fall of a lift. This simple act of vertical transportation, so commonplace in our modern world, belies a fascinating interplay of forces. Physics, in its subtle way, governs every aspect of this journey. Understanding these forces, particularly the tension in the cable holding the lift, is not just an academic exercise, it is fundamental to designing safe, efficient, and reliable lifts that we rely upon every day. The story of a body in a lift is a story of forces. It's about balance and imbalance, about action and reaction. As you stand within the confines of a lift, seemingly at rest or moving at a constant speed, you might not perceive the intricate dance of physics happening all around you. Yet gravity, that ever-present force, pulls you downwards. Opposing this downward pull is the tension in the lift cable, an upward force working tirelessly to keep you from plummeting earthward. Let's begin with the simplest scenario, the lift at rest. Imagine you are standing on a bathroom scale inside a stationary lift. The scale reads your weight, a familiar number we often take for granted, but this number tells a deeper story. It reveals the force exerted by gravity on your body, pulling you towards the Earth's center. This force, your weight, is balanced by an equal and opposite force from the lift floor pushing up on you. This state of equilibrium, where forces are balanced, is crucial for the lift to remain stationary. The tension in the cable is equal to the weight of the lift cabin plus the weight of everything inside it, including you. In this balanced state, the net force on the lift is zero and it remains still. We can express this mathematically as T equals W when the lift is at rest. Now, let's set the lift in motion. Imagine the lift starting its upward journey, accelerating from rest. As the lift accelerates upwards, you feel slightly heavier. This sensation of increased weight is a direct result of the lift floor pushing harder against your feet. To understand this, we turn to Newton's second law of motion, which states that the net force acting on an object is equal to its mass multiplied by its acceleration. F_net equals m times a. In this case, the net force is the difference between the tension in the cable pulling the lift upwards and your weight pulling you downwards. This net force causes the upward acceleration. We can express the tension in the cable during upward acceleration as T equals W plus m times a when the lift accelerates upwards. Here, a represents the upward acceleration of the lift. The greater the acceleration, the greater the tension in the cable, and the heavier you feel. Now let's reverse the direction and imagine the lift accelerating downwards. As the lift begins its descent, you experience a peculiar lightness, a feeling of weightlessness. This sensation arises because the lift floor exerts a lesser force on you than when it's at rest or accelerating upwards. Again, Newton's second law helps us understand this phenomenon. During downward acceleration, the tension in the cable works against the lift's weight, resulting in a smaller net force acting upwards. This reduced net force leads to the sensation of reduced weight. We can express the tension during downward acceleration as T equals W minus m times a when the lift accelerates downwards. Here, a represents the downward acceleration of the lift. As the downward acceleration increases, the tension in the cable decreases, and you feel lighter. Section 5. The weightlessness illusion. Free fall in a lift. Imagine the extreme case. The lift cable snaps, and the lift plummets downwards under the sole influence of gravity. This is free fall, a state where the only force acting on the lift and its occupants is the force of gravity. In this terrifying scenario, both the lift and you would accelerate downwards at the acceleration due to gravity, approximately 9.8 meters per second squared. Substituting g for a in our equation for downward acceleration, we find that the tension in the cable becomes 0t equals w minus m times g equals 0. This means that the cable is no longer pulling upwards. You would feel completely weightless, floating inside the lift, even though gravity is still acting upon you. It's important to remember that this weightlessness is a sensation caused by the lack of a supporting force, not the absence of gravity itself. Section 6. Beyond the lift, tension in everyday life. The principles we've explored within the confined space of a lift extend far beyond its walls. Tension, the force that keeps a lift from plummeting to the ground, plays a vital role in countless aspects of our daily lives and the world around us. From the bridges we cross to the buildings we inhabit, From the vehicles we ride in to the satellites orbiting high above, understanding tension is key to comprehending the stability and functionality of our engineered world. Consider a suspension bridge, an elegant testament to the power of tension. Massive cables, anchored to towering supports, stretch across vast spans, supporting the bridge deck below. The weight of the deck and the vehicles traveling across it create tension in the cables, much like the weight of the lift cabin creates tension in its cable. This tension, distributed evenly along the cable's length, prevents the bridge from collapsing under its own weight and the weight of traffic. Section 7. Engineering Marvels. Elevators and the Dance of Forces. Elevators, or lifts as we often call them, are engineering marvels that embody the principles we've discussed. Designing a safe and reliable elevator requires a deep understanding of the forces at play, particularly tension. Engineers carefully calculate the maximum weight an elevator can carry, the acceleration and deceleration rates, and the strength of the cables to ensure safe operation under various conditions. One crucial element in elevator design is the counterweight system. This system, connected to the elevator cabin by cables passing over a pulley, helps balance the weight of the cabin, reducing the load on the motor and improving energy efficiency. The counterweight, typically weighing roughly the same as the cabin plus approximately half its maximum passenger load, creates a balancing tension in the cables, making it easier for the motor to raise and lower the elevator. Section 8. Safety First. Protecting against the unexpected. While we trust elevators to transport us safely every day, it's crucial to acknowledge the potential risks and the importance of safety mechanisms. The most critical safety feature is the elevator's braking system, designed to engage in the unlikely event of a cable failure. These brakes, typically located on the elevator cabin itself, are designed to grip the guide rails running along the elevator shaft. In the event of a free fall, the brakes activate automatically, using friction to slow down and ultimately stop the falling cabin. This mechanism prevents a catastrophic impact, protecting the occupants from the potentially fatal consequences of a cable failure. Section 9. Space, the final frontier of weightlessness. Our exploration of tension takes us beyond the Earth itself, venturing into the realm of space exploration. Astronauts, during training and in space, experience prolonged periods of weightlessness. This weightlessness, as we've seen in the example of the free-falling lift, isn't the absence of gravity, but rather the sensation of free fall, where the only force acting upon them is gravity. Understanding the effects of prolonged weightlessness on the human body is crucial for long-duration space missions. Astronauts exercise rigorously in space to combat muscle and bone loss, a consequence of the lack of gravitational forces on their bodies. This understanding of weightlessness, rooted in the physics of tension and forces, is essential for ensuring the health and safety of astronauts on extended space voyages. Section 10. Building for strength, tension, and structural integrity. Back on Earth, the principles of tension are fundamental to the design and construction of buildings and other structures. Architects and engineers carefully consider the forces acting on buildings, including gravity, wind loads, and even seismic activity. Understanding how tension and compression forces distribute within a structure is paramount to ensuring its stability and safety. Consider the role of steel cables in suspension bridges or the use of reinforced concrete in buildings. These materials, by working in tension and compression respectively, provide strength and stability to structures, allowing them to withstand enormous forces. The careful balance of these forces, achieved through meticulous engineering and design, ensures the structural integrity of our built environment. Section 11. The Power of Understanding, Physics in Action. The seemingly simple act of riding in a lift unveils a fascinating world governed by the laws of physics. Understanding the interplay of forces, particularly tension, in this everyday scenario illuminates a fundamental principle that extends far beyond the confines of a lift cabin. From the bridges we cross to the buildings we inhabit, from the vehicles we ride in to the exploration of space, the principles of tension are woven into the fabric of our technological world. By grasping these fundamental concepts, we gain a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity of engineering, the importance of safety mechanisms, and the intricate workings of our universe. The next time you step into a lift, take a moment to reflect on the invisible forces at play. silently ensuring your smooth and safe journey. Physics is not just an academic subject. It's the language of the universe, and its principles are at work all around us, even in the most commonplace experiences.